So, hi everybody and welcome back. This is the Unreal Engine 5 tutorial series for absolute beginners. This is video 136, and in this video we are talking about interfaces and we continue. The problem about my video is that I'm not just talking about interfaces, I'm also trying to explain what benefits you have with interfaces, what problems there are, what confusion is there when we talk about interfaces and so on. And if you are just interested how to create and implement an interface, then you have to go just to this online documentation. In our first video, I showed you how to create an interface. And if you select the second part here, it says here implementing blueprint interfaces. And then you can just implement an interface, which is really straightforward, easy to do, because you have just to add these two interfaces on the blueprints, which should called later through interfaces. And that's it. It's really not difficult. It's straightforward and easy. Then the question is, if it's so easy, why I am doing something so complicated and explaining here different kinds of things? The reason for that is interfaces itself is easy, how to create it and implement it. The problem is how to use it, to understand it, and when to use it, when not to use it, and what advantages you have. And yeah, there are many things which confuses people, because some are starting talking about interfaces for performance, some are starting talking about interfaces for access, some are starting talking about interfaces for any other reason, and let's say comparing to cast and so on. So you will see there are interfaces cause problems, or let's say cause confusion is more the right word, because everybody sees one different aspect of interfaces. And in this video I want try, or not in this video, in this video series I want try to show different things and compare it with interfaces, so you understand later at least that you have an idea how to use interfaces, when to use interfaces, and when not to use interfaces, and something like that. This kind of question we will discover in later videos. And in my first video, I showed you how just to implement interface. That was this one here. Here we created just an interface. It's very simple. How to create it, you can, this one you can just watch in the documentation, straightforward, very easy. And in the second video, that was my last video, I showed you nothing about interface. I showed you how to use a get all actors of class node. And then you say, wait a minute, this has nothing to do with interface. Absolute right. But it is very important for a setup for later understanding interfaces, because this one is one way of getting access of objects. That's very important. What was objects again? That what I told you in the last video. For example, you want to access this light, and then you want turn it off or on, or you want make anything else, not with light. You can do anything else. For example, you can get this cross here and make it disappear, destroy it. You can spawn, so you can do anything, but I just choose this lights here. And yeah, and this here was just a demonstration of how to get access to these points. That's very important to understand later interfaces. That was a setup. And in this video we talk again about access, but not this time about access to with the node get all actors of class. There we had different variations with tags, without tags, with loops through this actors which we get from this node and so on. But in this video, I show you how you can get access from this viewport, right? So, for example, designers don't like working with codes, also not with blueprints. Even they know probably blueprints, because blueprints are most time easy compared to pure C++ code. And still, this one, some say, that's even not what I mean is even that is not needed for designers. What I mean with that is a designer wants to stay here And let's say he is making here a level design, and he won't just say, hey, I want just test this light and this light. I won't turn them off in gameplay. So when I start this one, the designer won't test how this static mesh here looks without light in gameplay, for example, or something like that. And then he's and what he wants is normally that he can select something, the light here, and then that he can go here in details. Most time the designers work with these details here. They turn something on and off. So a designer would like more, like I said, just select the object here, go to details and say, okay, light, I want when I play the game, you should be not on. And then he can test this, and then he go off, and then he say, okay, I tested this, was not good. I position this one and test this one. I change here the static mesh position and so on. All right, you get the idea. The designers like not working with code. They want just work with just details panels, and the reason for that is they can just turn on and off some settings, which means if they know the settings, they just go here, set the settings, yes, on, and then make the designing thing. So how we can make this possible, and that's about this video. It's very simple actually. And to demonstrate this one is, I will use again this box here. I have explained this box already in my last video. That's why I will not explain it again. And I will use again my character, my player character, and he will go in this box again. But this time, this selection here, now I have turned off this light here. I want that this time it is not regulated through code like here. I want that the designer decides which one he wants turn off on. That's why I go here to a new section and show this kind of stuff. It's not difficult, it's very easy and straightforward, but we have to set this up so that the designer can work here without going in this code. So there is still a coding section, but this coding section, you make it one time, set it up, and then most time this kind of stuff makes the programmer, and then he gives this option to the designer, and later the designer works just, let's say, with this blueprint, which is set up here, this box blueprint. We set this box blueprint, what we have up, so that the designer has never go in this code again to select this lights here, for example. You don't need to go in this code and open it up at all. That's very convenient for designers. Okay, like I said, first of all, I will use this box select here. This box is my character goes in, and then he can turn off on lights again, but this time designer is selecting. So here I have my character, here I have my I have my box, I have my character, and now how I make this one, how I set this one up. The point is, you go here to variables, because if the designer is selecting here a variable, if he's selecting here a lamp, this kind of selection must still save in a variable. So we have to create and make a variable for this selection. Okay, let's make this selection variable. I call it selection from viewport. Okay, let's make it better. Lamp selection, so I know what I want to select. Lamp selection from viewport. All right. So this variable is a lamp, which I want to select from the viewport. The viewport is this one. I want to select this here. The next thing is I set up the type. And there are two different ways. You can go directly if you know exactly what you want set up, and you say it should be only set up for this lamps and not, for example, other things like this one. Then you go directly and write BP lamp as a type. Okay, not lamp like me. Sorry, light. It was not lamp, it was light here, because we created this blueprint light here. This light here, what you see here, is a blueprint which I created. It is this one here, BP light. This light here, right? So, and then you write it here, BP light. Let's write it. I want to show you one more thing. That's why I'm writing it. Light here as a type. And then when you hover over it, you have here 4 options. And the normal thing what you use in general, first of all, is object reference, which means we make a reference. We make a connection to this class here, first of all. But at this point here, it is just a type and a name. There is nothing in it actually. Let's compile. After you created a variable, all time compile, because then this default value here on the right side, when you selected this variable, this will be updated. And in this case, it's even an array. We don't want an array. Let's make here a single one, because at start it was a single. Let's make it first single. I have changed this one to single because this means only single value. And when you compile it again, and then you can go here default values, and you can't select it. At this point, you can't select this default value here. Interesting. But we won't make it selected, right? We won't make that the designer should select this one. How we make this? And like I said, the designer will work only here in the viewport. He will not go here in the code and do anything. So what we have to do is we must first make this variable, which we created here, visible in this viewport, so that the designer can say, okay, I go to my box, because we have defined this variable in our box. Here, this is the box where we defined this variable. Then he can select first this box. So I'm here in my box, and now he can select what he want use. For example, I want use this lamps here, and then he should go here to the details panel, and then he should find a selection menu. And the problem is right now we have a variable, but it is not visible here in the selection menu. How we can make this visible here? And probably you know it is very simple. Here in details panel, you select first your variable which you created, which you want make it visible here for selection. Then in details panel, after this, there is an option. It calls instance editable. If you select this one, now you will have access. First, don't forget again compile. Now we go to the viewport, and you see now after you select again this box, not the lamp, careful, the lamp is that what we want select, but the variable is defined here in my box. That's very important. Not that you try to click here the lamp, where is my default, I can't find it. So you select this box, then you go here in your details panel, and in default here is the variable which I created, and you can see it now here in details, which means you don't have to open up this blueprint, which means you don't have to open up the code section and work at all here. That's nice. One more thing, if you go here and selecting these variables, of course there is a shortcut. Instead going here, let's say deselect it, compile it. If you go here and click this eye, this one is the same as if you click this one, and you see it was activated. One more time, I select it. Right now it's not activated. If I select this eye, it's just a shortcut. So if you can make it here or here. All right, that's convenient. And now it's, if this eye is open, which means in viewport selectable. All right, that's very nice, but we are not finished. Now I have only made possible that you can select this variable here in the viewport, which is nice for a designer, which means I don't have to go in the code. I don't have to assign anything here with code thing, which means the designer say, okay, I select this box. And now how I can select, he's asking himself, well, how the hell I select now these items? And you can see, if you go to this variable, we have here a drop down. And in this case, the drop down has only 3 elements. Why we have only 3 elements? Because I have give a default value, not a default type. I give him of a type BP light. And in my scene, I have only 3 lights. 1, 2, 3. And that's the reason when I select my box and go to the selection dropdown, I have only 3 options to select. And then you can select this one. The problem with this one here is nobody will use it. And no, let's say nobody, not nobody, but in general, nobody uses this dropdown. And the reason for that is it takes too much time. There is a faster way than selecting here, for example, this one here. And then you have to think, okay, I have select BP light. What was again BP light here? That takes too much time. Instead, here again, at the default value, we have here this eyedropper, right? And the eyedropper means select yourself in the scene what you want, instead of searching here a name and then figure out what was it. Here, the designer can just select directly what you want. It said, okay, I want test now, let's say this light here, and you can see this eyedropper, when I hover over a wrong object, which is not the same type which I specified here in my field, it is, let's go eyedropper again. It says it's incompatible, but if I go to the blueprint, it says, yes, this blueprint is compatible. I can select this one. Okay, now I selected this light here, and you see that's it. But the problem is when we run this code, save this one and run this one is not working. Yeah, because our code setup is not finished. This is the part which the designer will do, but before he can do something, this functionality which we have set up here with, let's say here with all actors of class, the functionality we have still set up here in the code, which means the designer will not go and set up this one, but it must be set up still before he can use this method. So anyone must program it before he can use that way. All right, let's try to use it. What we want to do? Okay, we want to do that the designer should just go into scene, select one, and he want to turn off on these lights so that he can test it while he's designing this level and moving around the static meshes, these lights and so on. All right, so this functionality I want. So how I make this again? Actually, it's similar like my last video. Here is my turn on off visibility, that is light on off. I need the component, careful, what we have right now here is what? It is the blueprint. It's here is in light, but this is just a component in this blueprint. In this itself, it's still a blueprint. What I mean with that is, let's open this one up. Here, BP light is itself a blueprint here on top, but I'm interested in this light component, which is in this blueprint. Don't forget this. I repeated this one. And why I'm repeating this one? Because I have get access to this blueprint first, and then I have get access again to this component light, and then I can turn it off. So, and this one is actually similar to this version here. That's why I copy this one. Copy, because I hope, let's see, have I? Yeah. I don't need to now waste too much time. And here, the only difference thing is here I use an array. Here, I can't use an array here. I can't just, what I get here? What is the problem here? I have select this one. All right, let's see. I get this one. Point light, target point light. Yeah, the point is here. The point here. The point is here. No, the point is not here. Why is this gone? Let me set up this one. I don't know why this one is not here. So I need now this variable. Okay, let's make it from start. It's better. It's not so irritating what I'm doing. So I start again here with my box. Here I have my box set up. I want that my character should walk into. I have my character overlap. And now I want that the character should turn off. I mean, when the character runs in, it should turn off on a light, which means I want that I have to select it. In this case, the designer has selected what he wants to turn off on, which means I have now use this variable which I created, and this variable is set in viewport. Let's get this one. All right, this one we have selected in viewport. That's different, like our last video that was set here from this get all actors of class. We get this, and then we selected this anyhow, which we want or not. There were different ways, and in this case the designer selected exactly what he want, and now I can connect it with the other things because that was the same thing here. The only difference was this little note. Let's write here another comment here. So let's write here selected by that from viewport. So let's select it from viewport because it's not selected here anywhere. And we can connect this one because this code is the same. I hope you watched my last video. It's not different, difficult. It's what I did here is just I get this variable. This variable is a BP light. This BP light is just a blueprint. I get from this blueprint this point light, and I used from this point light this property turn off and on the visibility, which means it's turn off and off the light. All right, and then if you connect this one here to this point and that, and when you compile something like that, we are almost finished. We are still not finished, but important is this one way is finished with coding section, but we are not finished with selecting sections. So what we do here now, so this designer comes here. Let's see if this is working. So when I start now, and you can see the light is going off. Why the hell you are going off? Light. All right, the point was I wanted to show, normally I wanted to show you this one at start. The light is going off because it was selected. Normally it's not selected. Normally it starts without selection. Normally when you start, that I want to show, you go in and nothing happens, and the reason is this oops, runtime error. Yes, this happens. This is not important, but the point is here at this point we set this up, but this was just the code setup. That this one here works, of course the designer should select something here. So in this case, when I start, this designer had nothing selected, and all these nice arrows come because this arrows comes because this one is trying to execute this code here. And to avoid these errors, you can make here check if this one is valid, so that you don't see this kind of codes here, these arrows here. Let me show you this one. And so if, all would get now shock. Oh my god, what's that? Of course you can make here, can I make here convert to validate get, this one here, and which means if this is not valid, it will not work. So let's connect this one here. That's also a very nice thing with this validate get. Validate means just check if this is set. So what I mean with check if it's set, it's, you can see the designer's job is now to select this box here, go here to the details, find this default value, and at start it's normally set to nothing, none. And if you have not this check for validate set, validate means you have selected something. If it's not selected, then I can't execute this code and it causes error. But when you use this validate checks, it says, okay, you have set nothing, and then this pin is executed, which leads to nothing, but it shows no errors. It says it's not valid just. So, and that's very handy because let me show you this one too, so that you don't shock your designer. You go in and there is no problem, but the problem is here, nothing happens. And you can say here also something print string, and then you can give some hints there. For example, no select, I don't know, select lights. I'll give him a hint that he has forgot to select something. And then when you write this one, and you see select light here, select light is a debug, so he know that he forgot something. And then what we can do here too is now, like I said, the designer at this point, the designer can just forget this code. The only thing what he has to know is has to know that he should select this box. Then he should know in this details panel there is a variable which he can select. In this case, the designer said, okay, I take the eyedrop, I select this one, and that's all. That's all what the designer has to do, because he don't have to go in this code anymore. He can just start, test. Okay, this was bad. Let's change here the position, this and this one, and he's doing his level design or whatever. All right, but okay, he's totally unhappy and say, I want to select now other lights, and then that's nice. What is nice, you can just select the box and select any other light for testing. Here now you are testing this light without going to code at all. Okay, now okay, this one is cool. That's nice. Let's see what we can do here. And there's one more thing before I recap. I stop this video. Of course, the selection with one is sometimes not very good. Like you can see, I have here 3 lamps, and if I have to select all one by one, that takes really much time. Similar to our get all actors of class, we can use a, where is it? I don't know where it is. But why is this not connected? Don't know. We can use a loop. Where is the loop? Here. We have a for each loop, but before we can use a for each loop, we have to create an array, and which means we have to change this variable here a little bit to an array. But let's create a new variable so that the designer can choose a little bit more. So let's go here plus, let's create fast, but this time I go a little bit faster. Okay, so let's write here lamp selection from viewport array. So this one is array. Again, I use this instance editable. You can select it here, and you see this eye goes up. You could select it here, and then I select it here. Again, BP light, and now I go to details panel again. Here is the type, and this time I say I don't want a single value. I want many values so that I can select between many values. All right, we make an array. Very important, after you created this variable, all time compile. And here you have here default values which you can set here, but we are making this for a designer. We are not setting this here. The designer should set it. Yeah, the designer should create the elements and so on. All right, which means I just let it so. Then I use this variable here. I get it here in my scene. Here on top, I use this variable here. Careful, that looks only different because I made a validate get. I make the same thing here. How I can make this one? I right click. Okay, right now we can't make a validate get, later. And then I say, okay, what I need? I need first one element. How we can use, there are different ways, but I said we loop through this one, right? I said, well, okay, we will loop all through this one. Normally you can make this one, and here you see if you make this get node, you will get only, let's say you can select exactly in this array which element you want, but it's still one element only. That's okay, but we make a loop. We go here loop. We need this for each loop. For each loop means, like I think I have explained this in the last video, it is just taking this array and it don't care how much you have in it. It starts from top, it goes through all to the bottom, and that's it. That's the for each loop. For example, let me show you again. If you have here and here, this blue things here, let's say this array has 1, 2, 3, 4, and all these elements here. This for each loop will start on top. It goes here, 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 and that's it. That's what a for each loop means. It just goes through all elements. So you can be sure all elements will be checked. So with that said, now we come to the point where I can copy this one here. Let's copy this one and paste this one here down, which means I can connect here now exactly, get access to this point line, because at this point we have only the blueprints. Don't forget, this is just to get the blueprints, right? Here I get the blueprints point light component, and here I set it. And with that set, we can go here to this loop body and set the visibility on off. And we have to do here a little bit more. Let's see what we can do. Let's skip this one here. Let's put this a little bit, oops, other way around. I have selected this one. Let's put this one down and let's put this one up, because now I work here. And yeah, so you can see almost the same, just the difference is just that I have here made it possible that he can select more elements. But how he selects these more elements, let me save this one here. And yeah, here when you select this variable, we have made it just here visible. Let's see now, have I made it visible? Yes, I have this eye. And what I have to do again, I have to select this box, right? And then what I have to next, I have to go to details panel. In default, now I have two variables. The first one is just 1. And you see the new one, this lamp selection from viewport, too bad they is called same. The one is an array and the other one is not an array. That's very important. This one is just single element. But when we watch this, it looks a little bit strange because it says here 0 array elements. And here the designer can just decide how many elements he want, or the programmer when he want. You can say, okay, I have here 3 lamps. Let's add here 1, 2, 3. And now I can select this one here. I select the first one. I select here the second one. I select here the third one. Cool. And then you can go here. And when you start with one compile, you don't have to go there. You can just go in and now turn off all lights off. Nice, this works. But let me comment this one here fast, and let's write here what I wrote there. Yeah, search BP light. Let's say here comment. Here I said select from viewport, and let's say here, let's change this comment here, 1 element. And here I said the same thing here, select from viewport more elements, because I don't know how many elements you want to select, but you can select more elements. And yeah, and this one is just looping through the elements. And here I write just loop through all the array elements, just loop through all elements. All right, just there is not much to write here. And you just loop through, and then you activate here, get access to BP light component. It's the same, and then you turn it off on. All right, so this one looks good. And what I wanted to show you one more thing, because this one is now an array element, means not you have to select all 3 lights. For example, the designer said, okay, I have made here 3 lights, right? I have selected all, but you can see what you can do now here. Very nice options. You can say, okay, I want test now only this light here and this light here. Then you can say, okay, deactivate, let's say one of them. Which one? I don't know how I selected them. Let's select them here one more time so I know. First this one, second this one, third the last one here. And now you say, okay, I want only activate this and the first one and the last one. The middle one I don't want. Okay, you can just go here and reset this. This becomes none. And the problem here is probably I get errors when I make this one. Let's see if I have errors. Yes, we have checked this validate if in a moment, but let's do this one. So let's get rid of the errors. The errors was again like here. We have to check, make a validate check that these are set or not. So let's say here, here I make this check. I don't know. Here we can make this one here. This time I converted here because this element here is just the variable array, but here is the exactly the element which I have chosen. That's why I make it this time here. All right, and now compile save when I can compile save it. What it said here. Oh. Yes, of course I have to connect this one here properly now, because I made a validate get, which means I have now these connections here. All right, that makes also sense. Good. Now we solve this problem too. And now we can compile and save one more time. Now it's okay. Now it should work. And this one is a little bit annoying. So now we have all what we need set up, which means there should be no error. So when I go here, selected only two, and this one makes still errors. Why it makes still errors? What was it? Well, let me see fast. What I think I will skip now this error because I wanted something explained more, and now I have errors here. And graphics use trigger. What is this? Trigger all. Set visibility. Okay, I don't. My brain is right now not here at this arrow because I want to show you something else. But important is that this one is just set. You have to check out where the right validate is. I have not checked it on the right place anywhere. But what I want to show you, let's skip this arrow now and say it is working anyhow. Here, when you go here, you can go here, and then you can see here, you can select this. And the nice thing is you can, of course, when this arrow is not up here, you can select here what you want later. This one, you can select one element and then you can work with it. Very nice. So, but there is one more thing what I wanted to show you. I don't know if I should show you now after I got this arrow, or I should just stop here and mention it shortly in the next video. I think I mentioned this one short in the next video because I have to check what I said here again wrong. More importantly is, yeah, let's stop here. The video is anyway too long. So if you have any questions or any complaints like all time, write it in the comments. And if you have any suggestions or something like that, write them also in the comments. And if you're asking what has this to do with interfaces, that will actually, this has again nothing to do with interfaces itself, but it is again a setup to understand later how to use interfaces, when we use interfaces, and something like that. And this is a pre-setup which you have. Let's say so if you want to work with interfaces, you should know this kind of stuff already so that you can choose later better. And yeah, with that said, I will continue in the next video, not with this one here. I will show you one more thing, and then I will dive into interfaces setup, and then we will talk about perhaps directly with interfaces, or perhaps there are some other things to talk as well. We will see. There are many important things to learn. And yeah, with that said, bye, good luck, and I'm trying to fix this arrow till then. Bye.